Is there a more beautifully sung expletive than the one on Box?
Hello, good evening, welcome to another episode of Crushed Custard, and we're going to look at another CD cabinet today, and it's this one. It's from 1997, and it's Box by Sam Brown. An absolutely brilliant album, this. Absolutely superb from start to finish, but what else would you expect from somebody like Sam Brown? She was always going to be brilliant, wasn't she? Right from the day one, I should think. When you think of her parents, Joe Brown, the all-round, always smiling, rock and roll nice guy, and Vicky Brown, who was an absolute wonderful singer as well. But anyway, what about Sam Brown? Well, of course, she had that big hit, didn't she? Right at the start of her career, really stopped. But then, rather than sticking to the sort of gilt-edged pop route, if you like, and churning out a load of pop albums and stuff, she was a little bit decided, well, I'm going to be showing my artistic side, really, and the record company didn't want to release one of her albums, and she just sort of said, well, okay, then if you don't want to release it, don't bother. And I think she ended up releasing it herself. By the time we get round to this Box, well, she's definitely ploughing her own furrow, and she's in charge of everything she's doing, pretty much. I remember going to see her on this tour. She was playing small clubs. I think I saw her at the old Coventry Rugby Club. What of the album then? By the time this came out in 1997, she'd already, as we said, had 2 successful pop albums and a few hit singles under her belt, and she's now going her own way and doing what she wants to do. All the glamour of Stop and April Moon and everything had totally gone here. There you go. There's a picture of her there looking really wild in her Doc Martens, and you wouldn't want to mess with her, would you, really? You know, she'd soon sort you out if you gave her any trouble. Let's move on to the album and stop waffling. It's the main difference between this album and the early ones, apart, of course, from the sort of lack of that saccharine tinge pop, is that this Box, it actually sounds like a band more than a solo artist, and it's just packed full of attitude and energy. It just leaps straight out of the speakers at you from the very first note right the way through to the end. And you see, what makes Sam Brown special, though, is the fact that none of it comes across like that at the expense of melody or carefully crafted lyrics. It's a perfect blend of subtlety and power and whatever. It's exactly what it needs to be, exactly where it needs to be, it right from start to finish. Lyrically, there is some wonderful stuff on it, and anyone who's ever listened to a Sam Brown album knows that her lyrics are pretty special and are always interesting, and she doesn't mind sort of throwing things a little bit out of the norm sometimes as well, which is brilliant. Anybody who's going to use words like twixt in their lyrics is going to get a nod of approval from the lexicographical part of me, which I just think is wonderful. So the album gets underway then, and I can hear you say, at last the album gets underway. Stop him waffling, talk about the album. Box, the title track, is the opening track, and as I said before, as soon as it starts, your attention is just grabbed straight away. A real jazzy riff which punctuates the song right the way through from start to finish, and Sam Brown's smoky velvet voice, which is probably one of the most recognisable voices in music. It just caresses your ears with its beauty, even when it's delivering a vocal full of angst. And Box possibly features the most beautifully sung expletive in the history of recorded music. The track, though, is not all about Brown, as though some of the great musical touches that are going underneath it and behind the vocal are pretty good as well. And I'll say it again, as I said at the beginning, this has got the feel of a band rather than a solo album. Ebb and Flow comes next, and that's a hypnotic keyboard melody with some swirling Hammond and a tribal rhythmic drum beat behind it. The vocal is simple but pleasing, and it sort of leads perfectly into one of the album's highlights for me, which is a track called Whisper. And this may well have the best melody on the album. It's certainly got to be close to being the best recording of Brown's career, at least to my ears. Displaying all of her vocal abilities, it finds a place in your musical mind, and it just point blank refuses to leave, as is subliminally suggested by the lyric. The quality bar doesn't drop for the following track, which is called I Forgive You, and that may well be the best known song on the album, as it was co-written with Maria McKee and is also included on her album You Gotta Sin to Be Saved. Again, though, Brown displays both ends of her talent, from the powerful to the beautifully tender. The end part of the track with the choir is nothing short of brilliant, and structure-wise it kind of reminds me of that Ragavoid Burns track Piece of My Heart, which has been recorded by dozens and dozens of people over the years. They're the Ones takes us back to the almost protest angst of the opener, and again the tribal drum beat drives the song along nicely while Sam Brown's voice dances and flits around in a mixture of styles. As the song builds, it turns into a full-blown rock track with some great instrumentation towards the end, and this could be a rock band jamming out with the Hammond organ of Claire Nicholson battling away with Richard Newman's drums. It's really top quality stuff, this. Liberty and Reality is another track that features a great Sam Brown lyric, and once again the musicianship is of the highest order. Brother Pete comes in this time. Not only did he handle production, but he also plays guitar on this. You've got Aaron McRobbie playing the bass, and they're as much a part of this album as are the aforementioned Nicholson and Newman. Add to that, on this track, you've got a guest appearance by none other than Jim Capaldi from Traffic fame, and you've got a really good fast-paced track there in Liberty and Reality. Things slow down considerably for the next track, Embrace the Darkness, and again, classic Brown again, haunting melody, deep lyric, dramatic piano. It just builds from the gentleness at the beginning into a powerful false ending before slipping back into a more gentle climax. The next track is TOES, or TOES. It actually stands for the obligatory Earth song, and it also starts off with a sort of soft, almost jazz-like piano intro as Brown warns of the anger of Mother Nature. The fact that a song which is warning of such doom can be delivered with such a gentle and wonderful melody without appearing ridiculous is testament to Brown's ability as a songwriter. The anger and feeling of danger being saved for the musical passage works perfectly and gives the meaning of the lyric more chance to work into your mind than if it had been delivered in the more menacing way of the musical part of the track. Intuition is next, and that's a mid-paced piano-led track which features a big radio-friendly chorus, and although it once again has a rock feel to the instrumental passage, it may be one of the weaker tracks on offer here, but it's still far, far too good to ever be considered or mentioned in the same sentence as the word filler. It's great stuff. As the Crow Flies is next, and that's another one with a jerky jazz-like beat and a jerky jazz-like riff as well, with another big infectious chorus. Again, it gives the musicians on the album a chance to shine, and a certain Mr. Capaldi pops up again with some extra percussion. What's the Use? Another jazz rock sounding track, musically with Brown delivering a fast and in places almost snarling vocal, comes next. This is about as far removed from Stop as you could possibly get, and is an absolutely wonderful track that many a rock band could do worse than cast an envious ear towards. My only criticism of it is that it could easily have been extended beyond its brief sub 3 minute duration and turned into something far more substantial. The album then ends with a track called Burton Flow, which is basically a slower 2 minute reprise of Ebb and Flow, leading into the sound of a stylus coming off the record at the end, which is the thing that makes you just wish that somebody somewhere would put out a vinyl version of this now. What is it, 1997 did this come out? So it's well due a revisit, isn't it? Maybe a 30-year remaster in a few years' time. We don't want to wait that long, do it now. Anyway, there you go. Box. What a brilliant album. As you've probably known by now, if you've watched much of Crushed Custard over the last couple of years, or if you know me anyway, you'll know that my love of the female singer-songwriter is right up there with my love of a couple of other bands as well, and Sam Brown's always been right there in that little top bracket for me. She's right up there with the best of them. I've got all of her albums. She's absolutely brilliant. Obviously, she had that dreadful thing a few years ago where she wasn't able to sing anymore, and then did the ukulele stuff, and that brings me back to something that just happened to me last night. I went out for a drink with one of my neighbours last night, and we go to this bar in Rugby that I used to use years ago. I know the landlord and everything. And what he has in there on a Thursday, I've got a little like snug down the bottom end of the of the bar. It's about the size of a box room is what it is really. It's probably got room for about a dozen people in it if you're all pretty friendly. What he got in there was a ukulele band. A ukulele, what they're called rugby lalies apparently. And there's about 8 or 9 of them, I think. And they have their practice session in there. Now, the table just the other side of the curtain, there was a group of blokes, probably in their 60s, sitting there having a drink. And one of them said, I bet they can't play Black Sabbath. Next thing you hear coming through the curtain is a perfect ukulele version of Paranoid. It was absolutely hilarious. And not hilarious because it was funny. It was hilarious because to see the look on the face of these blokes when they just said that, and obviously they must have known it, these people in the ukulele band, but it was great. And then they went on and played all sorts of other stuff as well. I think that's what Sam Brown did as well for a while. And she's now a pretty accomplished ukulele player, and I think she's still part of a ukulele orchestra, I think, as well. She's also put out a new album in the last year or so, which again, I'll be hoping to cover on here one of these days. It's a lot different in style to what she's done in the past because of the problems that she's had with the singles, but it's just great that she's back singing and writing, and you can guarantee that it's great stuff because it's Sam Brown and she always does great stuff. As the great Mr. John Lord said, if he needed a vocalist or he needed a lyric, there was only one person that came into his mind first, and that was Sam Brown. Get out and find yourself a copy of this box. It's probably not that difficult to get hold of. If it is difficult to get hold of it, try hard and get one because it's a great album. Box, Sam Brown. See you next time.
Let us know in the comments if you have heard a more beautifully sung expletive. And please do like and subscribe, as that will help the channel to grow. See you soon.